Welcome to Real Talk, the show where we look at issues facing our youth. My name is Omekongo and I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about the entertainment industry. Why does somebody want to be an actor? Why should somebody get involved? What are some of the dues that people have to pay? Do you have to pay dues anymore with the advent of things like reality shows? And with that, I have a very special guest who's going to talk about that. He's an actor, he's a stuntman, and he's an okay sibling as well. Welcome to Real Talk, Mr. Simba Dibinga.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. So much that we could talk about, but I guess the real basic question is, why did you choose acting? Why did you want to be an actor?
Oh, boy. Well, you know, it's a lot of people will say, and I agree, that most people who are actors want to express themselves. They have something to say. You know what I mean? I heard Morgan Freeman say that once, that you're kind of like showing off, like, hey, look at me, whatever. Mm-hmm. With me, I started out doing theater a long time ago. I mean, a long time ago, you know, like 15 years ago. Right. But then I did, mixed martial arts and boxing and all that, and then I went to the military. When I got out of the military, I went back to mixed martial arts. So I completely abandoned acting after I was like 15 or so. Mm-hmm. Then what happened was I was trying to go towards a mixed martial arts and boxing profession, like be a professional fighter. Like that was it for years. After I got out of the military, that was it. But when I decided to get married, I kind of looked around the fight game. This was, early 2000s, where UFC was around, some other places that were around, but they weren't the market machines that they are right now. Mm-hmm. So you could go, have a few fights, get paid a few $100, but that's not really a great way to start family, So I had to figure out a way to do something else, something where I could still express myself, but still put food on the table, as well. But it has to be something I love. Like, I'm not just going to do something just to do it. I have to be able to, get paid off for sure, but I want to, something that I'm passionate about. And I remember that I used to like acting. I used to love it when I was on stage. I was a theater guy, guy, and you're on stage. It's you've been on there. It's electricity, man. With the live crowd right there. You're making them laugh, making them cry, or whatever. So I got back into acting.
Do you feel like how people say their careers chose them or they chose it? I mean, do you feel if you had all of these experiences from military, martial arts, and everything, you could have gone back to different types of careers when you're talking about starting a family? Do you feel like deep down inside that acting is really something that chose you, that called you, even called to do this?
Oh, that's a good one. Yes and no, to kind of ride the fence, because well, I did theater. I never did film before until a few years ago, and you can have two different callings. You can be called in this direction or that direction, but it's going to come down to a choice that you as an individual have to make, which direction you're going to go to. You can be, we've seen people who were called to sell crack.
Absolutely,
They didn't have to listen. They didn't have to pick up the phone. Crack calls when they answer the phone. The bill collector called, they're not home. You know what I'm saying? So
true that.
You can choose where you want to go, but I think once I did it again, is that feeling you get when you're up there. When it's undescribable. It's the same way you're on stage when you're in front of people, or if you're on set and then when the lights go on, and that moment when they say action, boom, there's a feeling like you can't really describe it. And once you feel it, you're like, that's it right there. It's like meeting your wife or your husband or whatever. You see them the first time, you're like, oh, that's the one.
Yeah, definitely.
Same thing. You can't describe it, but you know it when you feel it.
Now, you are, for young people who are watching as well, some people may want to get involved in acting and not really sure about how to go. You as somebody you've done theater and you've done, television and movie acting. What are some of the differences? I don't know if I can really ask a question of which is harder, but what are some of the differences that people should know about if they're interested in doing both? And should you do both? Where do people go on that?
No, that's funny because when you're doing the theater, people who are doing the theater will look at you and they'll say, TV's that's easy stuff right there. The camera does all the work for you, whatever. And so if you try to, and then vice versa too, a lot of people, if you do both, you'll see and be respectful of both mediums and then realize there are differences. That doesn't make one better or the other, but they are different. You have to acknowledge that they are different. It doesn't mean that, if someone's a great theatrical actor or someone's great on TV that they can't do either or. But I think when you go into either one of them, you have to realize the differences that there are and embrace them. Most people will say that theater is an actor's medium, TV is a writer's medium, and then the movies is a director's medium. And then you kind of don't really get it until you actually do all of them, and you can kind of see. You know, the theater, I loved the pace of theater because it's boom, 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 boom. You're jumping without the net. You know, the adrenaline's rushing. If you make a mistake, there's no cut, there's no second take or whatever. The crowd ain't laughing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't go back and put a soundtrack in there, you know? Then you go and do a movie, and you can do one take all day long. You know, and you'll be doing on this side, and then you'll do it for 4 hours, have lunch. Okay, now let's shoot from the other side. Now you do the same scene, but we're doing it from the right side.
So from
theater, I'm like,
it's like, oh, here, now we'll take from.
You know,
not here.
My shoot perspective, though. That's right. You know, and so that used to drive me nuts. And then TV is kind of like that beautiful, like in between, where you have some multiple takes, but it's faster paced, which I like. You know, I like being able just to move, bang it all out. You know.
Now, before we get into some of the TV projects that you've done, and we'll talk a little bit about the movies. Would you recommend for young folks who are considering acting that they actually get involved in the theater first?
Yeah, man.
Because a lot of people say nowadays, you know, whatever, man.
Because they're thinking about money.
Right.
You know, now, if you're trying to say, look, I want to be rich, so I'm going to be an actor, whatever, you're probably going to fail. And you say, well, look at the reality shows, but they're not actors. They're personalities, you know, and that's not even long-lasting. But not to get sidetracked, it's good to have a foundation anywhere you can get it. You know, if you can do theater, you can do TV, you can do movie, well, do them. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's valuable experiences you can bring everywhere. Like, I have a lot of experiences that I bring from the theater to the TV and vice versa. I just started going back to theater. I'm going to start doing more theater this year because you kind of miss the crowd. And just not that you're playing for the crowd, but they give you that energy because you can feel it. You know, it's palpable. If you can do that, because you want to be good. You want to have talent. You want to have skill. You don't want to get by because you have a pretty face, you know, or you have a nice body or whatever. You want to get by because you have talent, because talent's what's going to last. When you're 30 or when you're 70, the talent's still going to be there. When you're 70, the abs might not be there anymore. You know what I mean? All the other stuff you got might not be there anymore. So you want to at least have that talent. And when you do theater, community theater, a student film or whatever, you're getting valuable experience that's going to make you better. So take any experience you can get.
What are some of the projects that you've done on the television scale? Before we get to the movies, what are some of the television projects that you've done that you've really enjoyed?
The ones I was able to go on Law and Order, like all of them, the SVU, Criminal Intent, regular series, Ugly Betty, One Life to Live. You know, the ones that I liked the best, that I had the most fun, was the Law and Order and the One Life to Live, the soap opera. Some people don't know. You know, I've watched them. You know, why not?
We grew up watching them.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the
thing. Our mother right there, she loves them. We watched them.
Growing up watching and then being on it, like, you know, I was telling you before, it's like if you're a kid, you know, imagine being on Dora the Explorer set.
Right.
You know, that's what it was like. You're running into these people that you've watched since you were like 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they look exactly the same.
I know. Is that called makeup or is that?
I don't know. It's a different world. It's a different world.
Like wrestlers. They don't age. Right.
I met Ric Flair a little while. Like, you're the same dude.
Wow, you met Ric Flair.
Yeah. That was crazy.
That's not the show.
It's a Nature Boy. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. So being on One Life to Live, and they canceled it recently. So I was very fortunate because that was a goal I had that year, that I wanted to be on One Life to Live. I told you that I wanted to be on Law and Order too, and I wanted to be on all of them.
Right.
And they canceled 2 or 3 of them. Man, bad luck.
I
know, but I got in there before they did. And I was very fortunate. SVU is still on, so we just did something a few months ago on that, which is really cool as well. I do a lot more stunts when I'm on TV, which is fun because stunts, I get to incorporate my martial arts background, my military background, and like my theater background. You know, so I get to do everything. So it was really cool.
What about the grind? You know what I mean? Everybody thinks nowadays that stuff's just easy, that they're just going to get on a show, they're going to be on American Idol, and obviously that's not an acting thing, it's a little bit different, but people just feel like it's easy. I mean, what do people have to really expect to really, and I'm not even going to say be successful as an actor, but to just be in the game? Well, what does it take? Because you're on the grind.
Well, for every Will Smith, there's a John Smith. You know what John Smith is?
Nah.
You don't. And that's the thing. You have to realize that some people succeed and some people don't. And then you want to look at both of them. Why did this person succeed? Whatever you just define as success. And you have to be honest with yourself and think about what do you define as success. Is it making a lot of money? Is it getting a lot of work? Is it getting the respect? Is it getting all of that? You know what I mean? And it's not easy. You're going to have to develop 3 things at least. Pride, learning how to swallow your pride, a thick skin, and you're going to have to invest money in yourself. You know, I don't know if you have time for a quick story about pride, though. One of the biggest reasons why I got involved in stunts at all is that I had to swallow mine. When I came from the theater, and, I'm from Boston, and so we were doing a lot of film projects up there, and they started using the local actors there for extras and stuff like that. So I was like, what the hell, I'll be an extra, see what's like, And one of the first long period extra jobs that I had was on the game plan with The Rock, right?
Yeah.
I started out as an extra, and now phenomenal experience because that makes you appreciate all the stuff I can do now. But so I'm with The Rock. We're there for a few weeks, and we're able to have these close scenes where we're talking to The Rock, Maurice Chestnut, Ryan White, a bunch of these people, and get to know them a little bit and learn stuff from them. And I'm sitting there, there's martial arts in me. I'm looking at you, look at somebody, I can do that. I can do what he's doing, man. That's not hate on them, but you have confidence in yourself, So I did a few more extra jobs, and then I got frustrated because I said, look, they're not doing anything I know that I can't do. And so I told my wife, I was like, look, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm all, this is like, few months, I'm done. I'm not doing extra work anymore. I'm too good for that. Not in a cocky way. Looking back on it, it's probably cocky, but when I said it, I didn't feel cocky. And so I didn't do it. So I'm not doing extra work. They call me for extra work, I'm saying no. Months went by, checking the phone, and nobody's calling, and I said, shoot, let me swallow my pride and do what I've done in every other aspect of my life, is start from scratch and work my way up like I've always done for everything else. Who the hell am I? I think I can just do a fast track in there. You know what I mean? So the next extra job that came up, I did. It was The Surrogates. It was a movie with Ving Rhames and Bruce Willis. They came to town or whatever, and I went out for a role. I knew I wasn't going to get because I wasn't tall. They wanted like 6'5", bald head, Kobe Bryant looking guy. I don't look like Kobe Bryant. But I said I want to go anyway, just like to meet. Right. I just wanted to meet the casting directors and have them meet me. I knew I was going to get the part, but I wanted to let them see my face and let us speak. And so I didn't get the part. They offered me an extra job, and I said, you know what? Sure, I'll take it. But the good thing about it was, at the time, I was about 30 pounds heavy. I was like 250, and Ving Rhames was wearing dreads for that movie, and they said they needed a stunt double. Stand-in, a stunt double, all that stuff, for him, because they didn't have anybody who was his size. And so I was like, I can do that, And because I did that, the stunt coordinator for that movie was the stunt coordinator for Law and Order, and I met a bunch of other people on that set, and like 95% of the work I did after that was because I swallowed my pride and agreed to be an extra, which led to everything else I did. And that's what you have to do in this business. You have to swallow your pride and develop that thick skin. Because being an extra sucks. It sucks. There's like a pedestrian extra where you walk across the street and you're on your phone, and there's a featured extra where you're next to the main star, you get a lot of camera time and all that stuff. And those are good opportunities for somebody who's starting out because it's what you make of it. If you're in a small scene with like Tom Cruise or something like that, whatever, you're able to pick his brain. And if you're able to pick a brain of somebody like a Tom Cruise or a Ving Rhames or a Bruce Willis or whatever, in those weeks where you're on set, that's better than an acting class.
Those are great points. I'm hoping that folks are being enlightened by this information. Definitely after the break, we have to hear a little bit more about your experiences as well as your thoughts on the Oscars as well.
Oh, okay.
We'll be right back with more Real Talk.
There's a place not so far away, a place where you don't have to keep the volume down. You'll find all sorts of creatures in this place without have to. The silly you. The proud you. You may even meet the curious you.
It's tickling me! You!
Ask your parents to take you to this not-so-far-away place. Come to the forest, where the other you lives. But first, stop by discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Real Talk, the show where we look at issues facing our youth. My name is Omekongo. I'm your host, and we're talking with the actor, the stuntman, Mr. Simba Dibinga. Before we went to the break, you were giving us some of your experiences being on these sets, and you're working on a new movie now with Ryan Reynolds that's scheduled to come out. It's finished. It's scheduled to come out this year or 2013?
2013.
Tell us a little bit about it, because you were involved in some crazy stuff that you haven't really done before as a stunt person.
It was. They just wrapped it. It was R.I.P.D. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's Jeff Bridges, which is really great. I'm a huge Jeff Bridges fan. You know what I mean? And It was cool. It was the first time I did the harness, like the flying stuff, and it's fun.
Like some Crouching Tiger type?
Yeah. Like I was supposed to, go to hell. You know what I mean? I guess, I became a demon or whatever. You know? I went up, but I'm like, man, what the hell's that way? Who knows how to do that? And then, so it was really cool to get to do that, like get your harness, go up there and do a lot of that stuff. But what I thought was a little, maybe the geek in me, what I thought was cool was the CGI aspect of it. I had never worn one of the suits that they do, and they make you into a monster. It's like a gray suit, and you have the lights on you and all that stuff, whatever.
Oh, that's
and I'm like, how you do this? Why you do that? I'm asking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they love it. The tech people love the questions, but and so I was able to have my face and everything CGI to look like a demon and stuff. So they have like a big machine, they spin you around, and they digitize you.
That's cool.
Right.
It's like an amusement park ride.
Man, it really was, and you get to look at yourself digitized, which is creepy.
Yeah.
But it was just cool. I mean, I just love being on there. It's when you love what you do, when you're passionate about something, you really aren't even thinking about the check. Quite honestly, the first few times I did this stuff, I didn't even know what I was getting paid.
Wow.
I didn't read the contract. What the hell I care? Like, yo, Law and Order, you want to go, you're on Law and Order, you get to do a fight scene in the middle of Union Square? Yeah. How much am I charging you? You know what I'm saying? You paid me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so
yeah.
the same thing with this right here. Like, it was just really cool. And this movie has a lot of green screen stuff in there. And I was really curious as to how a lot of the green screen stuff works when you're there. Like, I see it, behind the scenes stuff. But a lot of stunts that I usually do is more physical, fighting, this and that, whatever. So I really was interested to see how it is to be digitized and all that. That was really cool. It doesn't come out, I believe, until 2013. So I really hope I get digitized again before that.
Yeah. Do you enjoy being a stuntman versus, non-stuntman related acting, or do you just want to blend the two together?
I enjoy being on set.
Just being on set.
You know what I'm saying? I don't like the industry, quite honestly. The industry itself, the business, I mean, it's not. It's a lot of misconceptions about certain people and this and that, whatever. It's a hell of a grind. It does take a mental and spiritual toll on you, but I love the work.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll take the business and all the slings and arrows of that, no problem. Because I love the work. You know what I mean? If you love the work, you'll make those sacrifices for you. You have to. So I love the work. I don't care if it's a fight scene. I'm saying a few lines to somebody. It's act, whatever. I mean, I like action. I'm an action guy. I did martial arts, the military, and all that stuff. So that's fun.
Right.
And it's great to be able to use those talents still for something, because I did a lot of training for it, so it's good to use it for something. And then acting has its own different challenges, mentally and spiritually, when you take a scene and create it. You know what I mean? It's just fun. You know what I mean? I meet a lot of people who are kind of divas and they complain about this and my agent didn't give me this role or my trailer. It's like you're doing what you love to do.
Stop.
You know what I'm saying? It's like stop. It's fun, man. I don't care.
Do you think that people are going to still have a future in the acting world with the advent of reality shows? I mean, why? Let's keep it. This is real talk. Right?
Yeah, man.
Why should somebody really want to go and develop their skills as an actor when they can just get on the Real Housewives of Southeast DC or Real Housewives of, well, not yet, but who knows? They have DC. You know what I mean? People can feel like the rewards financially. Snooki is getting paid $25,000, something $30,000 to speak at Rutgers and stuff. It's kind of like the easy way out. Why? Do you feel like the television world in terms of acting is really going to survive when people can just go that route?
It's funny. I think Snooki probably has like a really nice house and a book and all that. Johnny Depp has his own island.
This is true.
Yeah, so it's a completely different level of doing things. Now, I'm not gonna disrespect anybody who's being successful at whatever, like the industry is, whatever. Yeah. But there is a difference, So when you're a personality, you're gonna be on top with that personality until you start getting on people's nerves, because you're a personality. You don't have the long lasting, and the reality TV is fairly new to this level, you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you're talking about having a successful, long-standing career, like decades worth, Jersey Shore is not going to be on for decades and all that stuff. I don't like the show. I don't watch a lot of those programs because I do like watching actors, people who have talent and are working hard at their craft.
Yeah.
There's a place for everybody. There's a place for people who are personalities. More power to them. That's great. On a personal note, I'm just saying, I would prefer to have a long-lasting career based off of talent, hard work, discipline, and completely reinventing myself. I don't.
So you don't spend time when you're like looking for roles, saying, okay, I'm looking at scripts here, but then I'm looking at like some of the reality shows and thinking about like doing one or the other.
I completely ignore the reality show. The only reality show that I was interested in was the Contender, and that was because I was just about to retire from boxing, and it was a boxing show, and Sugar Ray Leonard was there. So I was like, wow, Sugar Ray Leonard, I get to box. What the hell? You know what I mean? So that was the only thing. But I'm not a big fan of a lot of them, quite honestly. The people who do them, they have. It's stressful for them too because they have to have whatever personality they have, whatever personality Snooki has. She has to keep that personality. If she all of a sudden changes and wants to be a different type of person, or
she can't like be a Muslim.
She can all of a sudden convert. You know what I mean? Because the show's canceled. You know,
Right.
you get successful because of that personality. And when that personality gets tiresome, where do you go? Where do you go? Where's your talent to fall back or fall forward on? You don't have it, or you haven't developed it. You know. So look at Tom Cruise. He has remarkable, one of my favorite actors. Got a chance to meet him, and it's an awesome experience. But look at someone like him. He's been around for a few decades, right? Had that moment where people thought he was crazy and wouldn't work again. Boom, his movies are the highest selling movies in the world still.
You were a night and day with him, right?
Yeah. And but now he's back, quote unquote, in the good graces of the United States fans, and it's because he's good. He's a genuine talent. He came up the hard way. He wasn't like a blow up overnight sensation. He works his behind off in everything he does. He's one of the most intense people I've ever seen work.
Yeah.
Like he's just intense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's talented. And so talent lasts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Talent
yeah.
lasts. Personalities haven't been proven to last.
Right.
You know, gimmicks haven't been proven to last. You know what I mean? Talent will last.
So even though people would say, hey, I might be getting paid to get on the show, they got to be thinking about longevity.
Well, you want to think about, there's nothing wrong with getting paid. I'm not going to say nothing's wrong with getting paid, but you always want to think about the future. And a lot of the things with this quote-unquote reality shows, I know a lot of these people who are on these reality shows, it's not really reality because most of them don't even act that way. They're told to act that way, and they keep having to do that.
Right.
What makes it a reality show is that they don't have, it's unscripted. It's supposed to be called an unscripted drama, you know. But the thing is, you do want to think about long-term success and respect. Money is not everything, you know?
Yeah.
And money's great.
Yeah.
It's
up there with oxygen.
It's there. It's there, you know?
Yeah.
And, but you want to, there's nothing wrong with having money. Hey, we're going to have money. Have a lot of money. Have for a long period of time. I don't, you know, when I want to have a short-term career where I'm successful for 5 years, make a few bucks, and they say, oh, well, you don't have to work again. I want to work again. If I made $1 million tomorrow off the lottery or whatever, I'm not going to live somewhere. If I made $1 million tomorrow, I would still want to act. I would still want to do stunts. I would still want to film and do theater. Because I'm doing, the money is great, and I want the money. I have a family. I want to take care of them. I want to take care of myself. Take care of, charities I want to be involved in. But I also want to do what I love to do.
Yeah.
So what you do what you love to do. You're not looking at the clock. I've never been on set and be like, oh man, that's not my thing.
Absolutely.
Crazy.
Now, speaking of longevity and acting, the Oscars just happened, and there was a lot of talk about the role that Octavia Spencer and Viola Davis played in The Help, and where they were saying that, a lot of these black actors, they can't really get work, or they're getting the same old stereotypical roles, and that's pretty much what gets recognized. Do you feel like there are still real challenges as it relates to people of diverse backgrounds getting strong roles?
Yeah. You say diverse, that means everybody. What it means is, first of all, I've never met anybody in all the auditions, castings, whatever, that I felt was racist. And I've had some things said to me. For example, when I say develop a thick skin, I was reading for somebody, and I was supposed to play like some, guy who loves medieval art or something like that, or Socrates art, whatever. And that time. And she said, look, read it like this, read it differently. You're supposed to be an intelligent, like thinking, black man. That's sexy, it's rare. Intelligent, worldly black man. That's rare. Just do that. And I'm like,
wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I knew
when keeping it real goes wrong.
Right. And so I was like, okay, thank you very much for that. And I knew she wasn't racist. And that's the thing you have to get out of your head. It's not racist. It's a different perspective that they don't have, or someone doesn't have, or they're just speaking bluntly. They say, we want you, but we're gonna go white for this role. It's not personal. Maybe they just think a white person will do this role better, or we're gonna go black for this role, whatever. So I've never not met one person who I even think smelt like a racist. You know what I'm saying? It's just the nature of the business, you know. And that's the same if you're Jewish, if you're Italian, or whatever. There will be times where they want you to play the stereotypical role for something. Yeah, that's part of the business as well. It's up to you to look at whatever your own moral code is and decide whether or not you want to do this job or do that job or whatever. There's nothing wrong with having morals, but you gotta know sometimes you have to swallow your pride to a certain degree. Yeah, you don't want to degrade yourself or anything like that. But you know, I mean, it is acting. You're creating a story. You know, now, you know, Morgan Freeman, one of the most highly respected actors, you know, ever. One of his first roles, I believe his first Oscar-nominated role was as Fast Black. He was a pimp across from Christopher Reeve. Yeah. And if you see that movie, it was powerful, it was strong, it was this and that, whatever. And he's kind of been pigeonholed himself into doing a lot of roles that have gravitas, as he always says. And he would like to do I've heard him say that he would, not personally watching his interviews, that he wouldn't mind doing some of those old school type roles where he's not being like God or the president or whatever. Because you're an actor, you always want to grow and you always want to flourish, but you have to go in there and look at, you know, it's hard for everybody. It's hard for women. Women don't want to have certain roles that they're always getting offered. So you have to develop a thick skin and decide whether or not you're going to be in it for the long haul. Because an important point, I believe, is that, you know, I've been a salesman before. And you're selling a phone. The person doesn't want a phone, whatever. I'll sell them this phone right here. Yeah. When you're an actor, you're a salesman too, but you're selling yourself. So when someone says they don't want you for this role. It's not they don't want you. Can't get another you. Yeah. Or you don't like this one's fine. They don't want you.
And it's about the right fit.
Right. And it can feel personal. It can be embarrassing. Like, well, damn, what's wrong with me? My mother likes me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you have to realize that develop a thick skin. Don't take it personal. Unless that, you know, taking it personal makes you better. But don't take it personal. It's business. You know, have an iron chin and just keep fighting, you know?
Yeah. What's next? I mean, what can people do if they want to, you know, reach out and find out more about you and what set you're on?
Oh man, I got a Twitter handle, you know, and Simba Dibinga, of course, and you know, IMDb, where we all have all our stuff on there. You know, IMDb.com, where you see what you know movie you might have in production or a movie like that you've signed to do that's coming up or whatever. I'm getting involved in the social media thing, man. You know, on Facebook and all that, and I'm trying to be better at communicating. I'm a bad communicator, like with friends. I don't keep in touch with people. I'm always working, you know.
Yeah,
but you've heard. But yeah, I'm trying to be involved in that more. So you know, Twitter, Facebook, you know, IMDb is always cool. LinkedIn is, you know, it's pretty cool as well.
Okay. Well, I hope the young folks out there were listening. You gave us a lot of tips and pointers, and hopefully you remember us once the Academy Awards come.
I remember you. Yeah, you know what I mean.
The other people, the young folks.
Just keep grinding, young people. Keep grinding. Invest in yourself. Pay that money, invest in yourself, keep grinding.
All right.
It'll happen.
Thank you very much.
Hey, man, thank you.
That's going to do it for another episode of Real Talk. Once again, my name is Omekongo. If you have any questions, email me at realtalk@omekongo.com. And remember that youth are 50% of our population, but 100% of our future. Let's make sure we're taking care of them. See you next time.